on Windy City Weekend, we're celebrating Lunar New Year with our friend Billy Deck and special menu items from Sundon New Asian. Plus, we dive into a new Chicago-based podcast with veteran journalists Melissa Harris and Mary Schmeek. And film critic Richard Roper lets us know if Will Ferrell and Reese Witherspoon's new comedy is a spend or save. Now, here are your hosts, Val Warner and Ryan Cheverini.
Welcome to Windy City Weekend. Friday, January 31st. We have a live studio audience in the house, as you can hear.
Yes.
They made it through the rain, the sleet, the cold, and all of that good old stuff. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Yeah, I was walking over here and I had an umbrella. You know, I live very close, but I was walking over here with the umbrella and I was thinking, nobody is going to show up today. But you showed up.
Yes, you did.
And we have a lot of first-timers, too.
Yeah.
How many first-timers again? Raise your hand, first-timers. Okay,
First
great.
time ever in 13
Ever.
years?
Wow, you found us, finally. You finally found us. And hey, it must be a Flashback Friday because one of our day ones is here, and I mean that literally. He was
Literally.
on the very first episode, and he was a contributor for us for many years. Billy Deck is back. So exciting.
I know. And the last day of January, I mean, this month already has flown by.
Thank God.
Yeah,
January and February to flip.
Yeah. January, that
So
is
that's
true.
so passionately.
Yeah. January, like the holidays, it's fine to be cold and snowy
Yeah,
or
yeah.
rainy, whatever, right? It's holidays and
Yeah.
Michigan Avenue's all lit up and it's like, oh, it's Christmas, it's the holidays. After that, after like New Year's,
There is a stretch between Jan 1 and at least Valentine's Day.
yeah,
But really March.
And this January has been an awful January, too.
bad.
I mean, yes, I'm done with January. Oh, February 1st, Black History Month! Hey, the shortest month of the year. Now we're going to make it count.
And it's your holiday coming up too.
Oh, it is a holiday coming up. Valentine's Day.
Valentine's Day.
Valentine's Day.
That's right, Valentine's Day. Great to see you, Billy. I know you got a lot of things coming up that we're going to talk about for Restaurant Week and everything else.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What's going on?
But we got to jump into this because, Sunday is a Groundhog Day. And so Punxsutawney Phil, does the shadow thing. Does anybody buy into that first off?
I still don't know how it works.
I-
All these years. I don't. Is it real? Does it happen
It's
for real?
6 months to spring or 6 more weeks of winter. I mean, I said months, Lord. 6 weeks to spring or 6 more weeks of winter. Isn't that the same thing?
I'm thrown
Yeah.
off even before that. Like the groundhog sees his shadow. How do you know he's seeing his shadow?
Because he tells you. He goes like this.
That's not.
Here's the thing. Is Punxsutawney Phil accurate? Do you think Punxsutawney Phil is accurate? I'm going to tell you if he is or not. Who do you think? By applause, do you think Punxsutawney Phil's been accurate in
I
107
would say
tries?
he's been like 50-50. Right, that's fair.
No, he's been much worse.
Really?
Worse?
35% accuracy rate for Punxsutawney Phil.
Oh.
So we're still doing it because, they do it in Pennsylvania.
If you flip the coin, it'd be 50-50, so that's tough. Those are bad stats.
128 times this has been done. Punxsutawney Phil has seen his shadow 107 times.
You know why?
Why?
Because they need a Punxsutawney Felicia. She would be more accurate. Phil is outdated. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
For Black History Month, we're going to make this
Now,
happen.
see, I wasn't saying Felicia because she was black. I was just thinking of a
Well,
because
I know what you were saying.
No.
No.
I know it's the other
I think
side.
we all know what you were saying.
But no, I was just thinking of a girl named for Phil and Felicia.
Okay, now.
Are there white Felicias?
No.
Do you guys know any white Felicias?
Yeah.
But you probably know more Black Felicias. Okay. How would it work for
She's just going to be more accurate because girls rule the world.
And then she says, bye, Felicia, and she walks out.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, got it. All right, well, PETA is not a fan of that. PETA wants to do a cake. And if the cake is blue when you cut into it, then it's going to be 6 more weeks of winter. If the cake is pink, nobody's liking it. No, it'll be early. So we're going to stick with Phil.
Yeah, Woodstock thrives off of this. You have to.
Just please tell me you've seen the movie Groundhog's Day.
Oh, wow. Is that even?
Do you know who's in the movie? It's a Chicagoan.
Yes, I do know who's in Groundhog Day. Bill Murray.
Yes!
There you go.
That's a start. That's a start.
Classic.
You have to watch that movie.
Yeah.
And he's a meteorologist in the movie,
And he keeps seeing the same day over and over again.
which is what we do in news. See the same day every
That is the truth. That is
Yeah.
the truth.
So watch Groundhog Day.
Okay, I got
All right.
some homework to do.
Now this is a good question for everybody here. This is like something that I was actually thinking about this when I read it, like kind
Okay.
of deep thinking.
Ooh.
Would you rather have more love in your life, more time in your life, or more money in your life?
Everyone jumped on money.
Okay. If you say money, raise your hand.
They're making
Okay,
signals.
Dan, if you
to
say
some-
time, raise your hand. Ooh, interesting.
Ooh.
Love, raise your hand.
More love.
Okay.
Boy,
Nobody
so
wants
money. Let me see money
It
one more
was
time.
time between money and time, to be honest with you.
Huh.
And then time, one more time. Yeah, but can money
Yeah.
buy you time?
But no, it cannot. That's the one thing. Listen, so to that point, I always think about Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs was the richest man, one of the richest men in the world. He changed the world forever with Apple.
Mhm.
He died at 56.
Yeah.
56 years old, and money couldn't buy him time.
Which
Right.
one for you?
I think it changes. I'm reflecting on my life. Different stages are different things, and I think now it would be time.
Yeah, because you already got money.
Oh. I agree
You got
though.
that, you already
No,
did.
it's stages. Like when you're young, like
No,
money is
no,
everything.
stages.
Money is everything. Time.
It's time for me too.
Because I have Billy's money.
Well, speaking of time, I just want to say and give a shout out to my Uncle Greg. I don't know if you guys remember, we did this story where I introduced Maxwell to his great uncle Greg, who was a gold medal Olympian in 1956, doctor of dental school surgery, graduated in 1954 from Indiana University. He was drafted to the Korean War in 1950. Uncle Greg passed away last week at 94 years old. But talk about time, right? The fact that this gift and the staff at Windy City Live allowed me to do this story, we drove so Max could meet they competed in the same event. He won the gold medal for the long jump in the Olympics. And Max, as you can see by the medals around his neck, competes in the long and triple jump and track and field. So, Uncle Greg, we know you're looking over us. Please look over us tomorrow at track meet. We love you.
Yeah, what a life. What a life. God bless.
All right, well, Billy is sticking around because we're going to head to the kitchen with some delicious dishes to celebrate Lunar New Year and Chicago Restaurant Week. It's all coming up next. We'll be right back. All right.
Welcome back to Windy City Weekend. Billy is back with us in the kitchen, and he has some delicious meals to celebrate the Lunar New Year and Chicago Restaurant Week. This is a big time right now.
It
Billy.
is, and it's a celebratory time. So I brought you both a gift.
Oh, these are the lucky red envelopes.
Yes, this is a lucky red envelope.
Tell us the significance.
Well, first of all, to your point earlier, we get to say goodbye to the old last year, the stress, the distractions, and a fresh new start today with the Lunar New Year.
Okay.
And this is to give you much abundance and joy in the future. And there's a little gift in there because I know you like your separate favorites at Sunday, especially you. And I know it's not here today because this is about Lunar New Year and Chicago Restaurant Week. So you can go and play and have fun with that.
All right, should we open this
Thank you.
now, or
Well, you can. It's just, a
a
gift.
gift card to Sunday? I like that.
But yeah.
That's good luck for that Lunar New Year.
It is good luck for the
Yes, there you
So
go.
what is Sunday doing to celebrate and honor Lunar New Year?
Yeah, so tonight we have the traditional lion dance, this amazing group from Chinatown coming to River North Sunda, and we did it at Fulton Park last night, and it was a huge party. It's tonight at 7 o'clock, so you can kind of come in, and then you have all these extra wonderful dishes. We do an off-the-hook whole snapper at your table.
That's what Ryan wants to order.
Yeah, this is a New York strip Hong Kong lo mein, and then this is a lion's head meatballs with shrimp and pork and a bunch of vegetables. And yeah, it's just a year where you get, like we were talking about life and time. With the noodles, you don't break the noodles. The longer the noodles, and you're allowed to be loud with it when you're eating it,
Yeah.
slurp it, because it means long noodles, long life.
Oh, really?
Yes, because it's your.
Now, I always break my noodles when I'm cooking, so I should
Do not do that.
I break them in half?
That is the opposite of long life.
She just shortened her lifespan by like 20 years.
Just by putting it out there.
But we're gonna have dancers there too, right?
Yeah, there's a drum team, there's like these lion dancers, and it's just really traditional and awesome, flying through the whole dining room, and it's nuts. So yeah, you'll see that.
All right. Any tips on how to make a great vegetarian dish?
Well, we actually have a lot of great vegetarian dishes. And for Chicago Restaurant Week, we brought that into the mix. The one in front of me that I have right now is super beautiful. It's actually made out of sweet potato noodles, and I'm putting some edible flowers and some scallions on it. This is called japchae. It's a Korean dish. We also do the Brussels sprout salad, which you know.
So
and,
good.
And we can take, yes, there's one with a Vietnamese dressing. We take the shrimp off that. There's also a sweet potato poke roll. We're losing a lot of sweet potato and sushi rolls these days for vegetarians, vegans. And yellowtail jalapeno. That chicken is something I grew up with from the islands of the Philippines called chicken in asal. And we have oxtail pot stickers. And last but not least, a little salmon here. And then Chicago Restaurant Week. Yes, we have it at the Fulton Sunda and the River North Sunda. If you can't go there, go somewhere in Chicago. It's all over the city. It's a really wonderful way to explore this world-class culinary gem. And you know what? The restaurant hospitality industry needs people to come out, get off the couch. The ordering in is fine sometimes, but we need to see you, you know, and we just need to keep that energy up so that everyone can keep, you know, making it bright and great, you know, in this tough time.
And there's a lot of deals too for Chicago Restaurant Week too.
Yeah, it's not only is it, let's say, $60 or $45 for lunch, but you can get a best of the best tasting menu. And so in this case, it's like traveling around Southeast Asia because you get to do a little bit from each country, all in one.
So I can taste.
What's your go-to dish, Billy? Like, what's your absolute favorite thing?
I grew up on this thing called crispy pata, which is a pork shank, and I like a lot of the brunch items because I'm a breakfast for dinner kind of guy, you know. And and this is a vegetarian, vegan, sweet potato, which I've never experienced until I was introduced to this dish.
It tastes like noodles.
It is noodles. It's noodles.
It's sweet potato, but it tastes like, I mean, you can't tell that you're missing out on anything.
Right.
Having a vegetarian
Right, that's
dish.
the thing.
And you flirt with going vegetarian all the time.
Vegan Val.
Vegan Val. That lasts like about
You're just doing
one day.
You are doing it right now.
So
You are vegan
today-
now
This is
right
my
now.
first meal of the day, so today will be a vegan Val day.
Yeah, and it's pretty, kind of, you know.
It is pretty.
Absolutely.
Billy, you're pretty.
Oh,
And your
wow.
personality is
Wow.
We love you. Thank you so
Thank you.
much for stopping by. And be sure to stop by Sunda New Asian to try out any of these delicious menu items. You got 2 locations to pick from. All right, coming up next, we're going to hear from 2 Chicago storytellers who are revisiting Studs Terkel's Division Street in a new podcast. Really cool. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Well, a new podcast series, Division Street Revisited, dives deeper into the stories of people interviewed by legendary Chicago radio host and writer Studs Terkel almost 60 years ago.
Yeah, and here to tell us more about it are the series creators, former Chicago Tribune business columnist Melissa Harris and Pulitzer Prize-winning columnist Mary Schmeek. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you for being here. You know, many people in our audience are probably already familiar with Studs Terkel, but for those who are not, how would you describe him? What would you say about him?
Well, many people would call him a legend, but many people would say, who? Studs started out as a radio show host. He had his own TV show for a while. And then in the 1960s, he started going around with his huge reel-to-reel tape recorder, just interviewing regular people about their lives, saying, what are you afraid of? What do you hope for? What do you want your children's lives to be like? If you were God, how would you change the world?
Wow.
And
Those are some great questions.
aren't they?
They're
Great
such ordinary people.
Aren't they? And then he collected these into books of oral history, as they're called. He did many of these, but his very first one was called Division Street America, had 71 interviews in it.
And Melissa, you came up with the idea initially, right, to kind of revisit this. What started that idea?
I read the book and I was frustrated because everyone's in there under pseudonyms. It's not their real names. So I spent weekends and weekends in the basement of the Chicago History Museum decoding the identities, and I wanted to know what happened to these people. Did their dreams come true? Did their son get shipped to Vietnam, right? Did their, son or daughter, succeed after a drug addiction? What happened to them? And then we found out 15 years later, after I first had that idea, that the archives have been digitized by the Library of Congress.
The tapes.
The tapes.
Okay.
The tapes. Because this wouldn't have been possible if I had to fast forward, rewind, cut, slice. It just wouldn't have been possible. So it only became possible really within the last year.
And then what made you have the idea to do a podcast? And then how did you rope Mary in?
Well, there is no better teller of Chicago stories than Mary Schmeek, who's been telling these kind of Chicago stories about race and poverty for 40 years. So that was the easiest choice. And then the podcast was, we have the historical archive now that's digitized, so easy to use for a podcast. And what if we went out and found these families and then brought them together and told the story of 60 years of American culture and asked, are we better? Are we better off?
How many families have you tracked down?
7.
We picked 7 people from the original book, and we set out to find the descendants of these 7 people. And so we've tracked down relatives, in some cases great-grandchildren, of all 7 of these people.
Wow.
My next question is kind of twofold. Like, what have you ladies learned from this? But even more important than that, what would you recommend to ordinary people like us about storytelling and recording and documenting?
I'm going to take what you should do. You should go out right now, set your phone down in front of your oldest living relative, and just hit record.
I agree 1,000%.
I agree. One of the most moving things to us, Melissa says this all the time, is that when we play these tapes for the children, the grandchildren, the great-grandchildren of these people, they cry. They're so deeply moved. There is something about making that auditory connection to your past, to your past relatives, that just strikes some profound chord in people.
And in some cases, these people have been dead for a half century, and so they're hearing their voices for the first time in 50 years. It is powerful.
Yeah, and you talked about goals and things that they wanted to accomplish. Did they accomplish them for the most part?
I think on the whole, when you are able to step back and look at America from 1967, when this book was published, to today, we are better off.
Okay.
For instance, one of the people we feature was a closeted gay actor who was deathly afraid that his mother and family would find out that he was gay. I think today that man would be out and proud and maybe even married if he had lived to see it. But it's not the same for everyone. When you cover 60 years, in every family there will be joy and sorrow. And I think depending on the volume of that sorrow depends on whether you can agree with it. But if you step back, we're better off.
Yeah. This is fascinating, ladies, and a lot of good takeaway on this. Thank you so much for stopping by and sharing all the best with the podcast. Melissa and Mary's podcast is called Division Street Revisited, Unfinished Stories from the 1960s. Be sure to check it out on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify.
Coming up next, Richard Roper is here. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. We like to say that he watches the bad ones so that you don't have to. It's our friend and film critic, Mr. Richard Roper. Hey, Rich.
I come bearing good news. Let's get to it.
Oh, good.
Good news today.
Got some good ones. All right, first up, Will Ferrell and Reese Witherspoon starring a new comedy. The premise, their wedding parties get double booked. The same venue for the same day. Rich, tell us more about You're Cordially Invited.
Yeah, so Reese Witherspoon, her younger sister's getting married. Will Ferrell's a single father. His daughter's getting married, and there's a big snafu, and they both have, they double booked the wedding venue. So now they're going to, we're going to compromise. You can have the dock before sunset. We'll have it after. You can have your rehearsal dinner inside. We'll have ours. You can just see the hijinks that are going to ensue. There's a movie law. The nicer the wedding cake, the bigger opportunity it has probably not to make it to the slicing. There's going to be a karaoke number. But this is the first time Reese Witherspoon and Will Ferrell have worked together other than one time on Saturday Night Live, and it's such a natural pairing. They're both so good together. It's the coupling we didn't know we needed till we got it. I love this movie.
Oh,
wow.
Lots of
chemistry,
fun.
huh?
Lots of fun.
I'm surprised, actually. There's a lot of comedies.
It's completely stupid, but it's a lot of fun.
Okay.
Sort of like, well.
Yeah. All right, well, then we got us a winner. One winner. All right. Next, we have a horror thriller starring Chicago-born actress Sophie Thatcher. She plays a companion robot girlfriend who gets mixed up in some sort of murder mystery.
Yep.
Rich's companion, a spend.
That old story again, Val, right? It's a spend. Here's the thing we never learn in movies about the robots, whether it's the Terminator movies or Megan. As soon as they become aware of the fact they're robots, they're never happy about that. And we can't find the off switch. So this is dark and interesting and really kind of weirdly funny, but it's also a commentary on male toxicity, on how men would want something like this, and it's like, be careful what you wish for. You start rooting for the robot about halfway through this.
Yeah, it's kind of frightening. Why are you looking at me? I I'm actually
His close is next to me.
I'm actually frightened that this is going to become real life with
Yes.
AI and everything else. Like,
It's
haven't we
getting closer
watched
and closer.
Terminator and any of these movies to realize it doesn't end well?
Never learn.
It's getting
Never
closer.
learn.
We never do.
So that means no robots for you two for Christmas?
No, 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 no,
No, I'm good.
We have each other.
Yeah.
We're fine. Bro, come on.
The bro hug.
Okay, bro.
All right, and finally, a Wisconsin farmer and diehard Packers fan, you can boo. They bet the future of his farm on Green Bay winning the Super Bowl. You know, Bears fans are not going to give this a spend, but what did you think of Green and Gold?
Ryan, I wanted to talk to you about this movie since I saw it because it's a big spend. Yes, he's a Packers fan. That's Craig T. Nelson, who's been around forever. But it's really about family and farming, and it's all filmed in beautiful Door County, Wisconsin, which, you know, New York has the Hamptons, Chicago has Door County, right? That's our vacation spot. And there are some moments in this film where, and there's some church in there, which a lot of Hollywood movies won't do. There's a reverend quoting the book of Isaiah, and then you get these beautiful musical numbers. But it's mostly about family and loyalty and the joy of farming. So I love this film. I know we all bleed burnt orange and navy blue, but we can go green and gold for one time. Just
Yeah,
one time.
because that's the subplot. That's why they
Yeah,
have love.
that is exactly
Yeah.
right. I wish they hadn't called it that because that's not really what it's about.
Yeah.
It's not really about being a Packers fan. It's about being a family.
Are you gonna need the box of tissues for this?
Oh, it got me.
It got
Oh,
you?
did it get me? Ooh, yes.
All
All right.
All right.
All right.
All right, 3 spins this week.